they enacted martial law around that section of Boston.
And then
around Watertown.
last time before that was probably '02, the Beltway Sniper.
Maybe, yeah.
I think that was the last time.
But that's what I'm saying.
That.
See, like, but you'll probably hear Alex Jones say at least once or twice a year that martial law has been enacted.
Yeah, well, that's part of that's because, like, in St. Louis and Florida, they get the military in there, the black operations teams, and do those unannounced martial law drills where they're practicing.
Yeah, but that's not real martial law. There's so many.
Yeah, but when you don't tell the public you're going to do it, and all of a sudden there's Marines at checkpoints dressed in black fatigues.
That's the point of it. Because you need to judge how the public is going to handle it. So if they know it's a drill, then the public's not handling it as if it was real. The public's handling it knowing in the back of their head it's a drill. They can act like it's real, and you can ask the public to act like it's real, but they're not handling it truly as if it were real. So you can't really inform them about it. But they do all kinds of fucking tests on crazy shit, like the zombie fucking thing in San Francisco they did a couple years ago, where they did the zombie outbreak military drill in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And they had tons of people. Like,
they did St. Louis as well.
Actors and stuff like that, like dressed up as zombies, and then like it was literally, and it's not like, oh well, not actually zombies, and no, it was literally a drill for zombies.
Yeah.
And it's like it come to find out, like a week after that shit happened, I had like seen it on the news, and not on the news, like on the internet and shit, and thought it was kind of funny. But come to find out, a week later, my buddy who works for DOD actually told me that was his. He wasn't privy to tell me exactly what his job description or anything was, but he definitely wanted me to know that idea of doing a zombie drill originated from his brain. And I was like, oh my god, are you serious? And it's like, up to that point, like, for
really?
at least a good year, me and him were always just like, we'd just get high and just go off the deep end talking about crazy shit and like crazy shit that could happen. I was like,
yeah, do you notice that's something
into the conspiracy movement?
That's something they've been pushing a lot lately. I've noticed that they've been pushing the zombie thing a lot the past few years with like The Walking Dead and World War Z and all these. Every fucking first-person shooter that comes out now has some type of zombies game type in it.
Yeah.
Fucking.
They moved off it a little bit.
Not really. Walking Dead's as popular as ever.
It's.
Now here's where I'm going. Here's where I'm going with this. We already know about the plan.
Vampires are coming back, or werewolves.
We already know about Bluebeam. Could you see them pushing the zombie craze to the point where then they finally carry out Bluebeam and do zombies instead of aliens?
I don't think you could do zombies.
You could use that technology. Use real fucking soldiers. You know what you can do with a green screen in Hollywood and suits like that. Just put them in like a green screen type suit.
Yeah,
use the Bluebeam technology, and we see zombies.
That's asking a little bit much.
Dude, if they can put Muhammad in the sky and have him speak to the entire
what you're not
country.
understanding is in the sky, you can think about it this way. When you're projecting a laser pointer into the sky and somebody 20 miles away sees that laser pointer into the sky, they have no idea where the fuck you're at. Even if there's a beam coming from the ground straight up, they only have an idea of the direction you're at, not how far away you are, you know what I'm saying? They don't really know where you're at. Now, if they can't see that beam and they just see the dot in the sky, for all they know, that dot's coming from above and not from the ground, you know what I'm saying? So, from that perspective, it's not very easy, but Project Bluebeam is like, the project itself can easily, literally fool masses of people, whereas when you're trying to project from the top down, your projection apparatus has to be suspended in the sky somehow. You can't.
What if they have like
Bluebeam doesn't have the technology to be able to bounce its signals off the atmosphere and come down and project 3D images.
Well, what if they use a different type of technology? What if they do something portable they can have on them where they just press a button and it's like a camo? I hate to use Predator as an example because it sounds so fake, but
I wanted to talk about the
the microchips, because you get the microchips in it and we get comfortable with microchips, and then people get comfortable with putting microchips in their brain. Once you get people comfortable with putting microchips in their brain, then it's like, oh, hold up. So if we can get people comfortable with putting a microchip in their prefrontal cortex or wherever we need to put it, we might actually be able to hack the visual signals coming from the eyeballs to the brain.
So they think they're seeing zombies.
So
and
they're actually just
Muhammad.
overlaying, kind of like green screen or something. They're just overlaying zombies on top of green suited soldiers.
On top of like you.
Yes.
You could look like a zombie to somebody.
Yep. It's kind of like a reverse They Live, maybe. I don't know. I think of They
really
Live when I think of that. I think of They Live. That is a really creepy thought. Well, you know what, Brian? Let's get this fucking show on the road.
Let's do this. What is our intro music today?
It's our new intro music, dude. We got new steady intro music that's not copyrighted that we are allowed to use. But outro music, I don't know. We'll find out. But let's get this fucking shindig on the road. Welcome, everybody, to 3NN, episode 18. My name is Nick Tesla. His name is
Brian McFadden.
And we're here to have a blast. Crack your head wide open like an egg on a Saturday morning. This is the official podcast of Open Minds Everywhere. I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. It's a wonderful evening here. And
wonderfully cold, frigid evening.
Yes, it is. I don't know. Where did you want to get started? I guess we got a whole bunch of... I have literally tons that I can go through, Brian.
You have a lot.
You know, Brian has breaking news that he definitely wanted to break on to everybody, even though by the time anybody
it's not
is
really
listening
breaking
to this,
anymore. It's 24 hours old almost.
Well, maybe not a week, but it'll at least be a couple or a few days old news by the time it gets to our listeners. But still, it's definitely breaking news to us. So,
currently,
and you want to touch on it, so go right ahead.
Yeah, it's 5:46 p.m. on Monday. At 10:50 last night, Eastern Standard Time, there was a nuclear explosion in Donetsk, Ukraine.
Okay.
And at the time, it was... I was at work. I got home from work. I went on YouTube, and like every video on my YouTube feed is nuclear explosion in Donetsk, World War III in Ukraine, World War III has begun. I'm like, what the hell is this? I would just want to say, if anyone at the time of this airing still thinks that there was a nuclear war erupted Sunday night during the Grammys...
If anybody out there still thinks that, then you don't watch enough mainstream TV, and I never thought I'd hear myself say those words.
I never thought I'd hear you say that either.
But if you still think there's
even
no
RT
nuke,
Network,
nuke that went
one of the first ones to say, this was not a nuclear bomb. It's been pretty much, we're pretty certain it was a nuclear chemical plant or some type of chemical plant in Donetsk.
Now, cigarette? Somebody dropped a cigarette?
That's the area that's
still fishy.
Who the
fuck is smoking a cigarette in a chemical plant? That's the area that's still fishy. Fucking Russians are crazy, dude.
This is from RT Network.
Ukraine? You're insane.
From RT Network, they're saying
now, hold on, before you say that, okay, so you did say it. RT is saying that an employee dropped a cigarette in a chemical plant.
Oh, I'm sorry. RT is saying that the officials in Kiev say that someone dropped a cigarette.
Okay, now, one thing that I definitely want to bring up real quick is I came across this on Facebook the other day. Somebody saying something about jumping on Derek Broze. Derek Broze is a journalist out of Houston, Houston Free Thinkers. He was on RT about a week ago on Abby Martin, Breaking the Set. He's a great dude. But somebody was jumping on him when he was on Breaking the Set. He showed like a behind-the-scenes picture of him sitting at an interview desk or something at RT, and I thought it was a pretty cool picture. Right? Well, somebody jumped on him and said, you know what you're doing, that's wrong. RT is a state-sponsored news agency, blah, blah, blah. And there was other people defending Derek Broze, one, for having the right to go on whatever news station he wants to go on to. It's definitely not mainstream news, but where the fuck was I going with it?
I don't know. Are you implying that because...
no, but the people were saying to him, everybody knows, anybody who's got any kind of knowledge and follows things, and follows things, I don't say correctly, but isn't following mainstream, is following alternative news and actual real news, and investigating things for themselves, comes to find out and knows that RT Network you don't trust for information on Russia or Ukraine or that
but you can
localized
pretty
region.
Much trust them on U.S. information.
But you can trust them almost 100, I don't want to say 110%, you can trust them about, I'd say, close to 98%, whereas our mainstream news, you're trusting maybe 10%. You know,
what's 12%. You can't even trust what our news is telling us about Russia.
Yeah, that's the sad part. You can't really get the truth on Russia. I guess maybe if you want the truth on Russia, you could check with Al Jazeera. They might be giving you the truth on Russia.
They don't really care either way.
That's one station where I think Al Jazeera's got the one up on RT. But RT's got much better production.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out about RT because, of course, with everything going on over the past year and a half between Russia and the Ukraine, there's a lot of places. A lot of sources out there, one being Foxtrot Alpha. I'll give them the credit for this article here.
Okay.
They're implying that the explosion at the chemical plant last night that created the huge nuclear mushroom cloud was the result of Kiev bombing that area.
Yeah, that's when I looked into it. You had told me about it. You shot me a message, and I looked into it, and that's what the first thing that I found.
I see a lot
Alex
of people
Jones
saying
video,
that.
but then I found that.
But all the authorities in Kiev are saying cigarette butt, cigarette butt.
Well, me and you have both worked in chemical plants, and we both know that there are chemicals out there. It's not like we've worked with them. Maybe you have. I know I haven't worked with any extremely highly volatile chemicals, but there are chemicals out there that. Their properties. I actually just watched a video the other day on like SciShow or something, this YouTube channel, about the 5 most dangerous chemicals. And there's this one chemical, the most dangerous chemical, where literally when the chemical is created, when this compound or whatever is created, you don't have to do anything to it and it explodes. There is no trigger that makes it explode. You can leave it alone and it explodes. And now think about somebody having and there's the second one was
how do you
like kind of the same way.
How do you prevent
it? You can't. You just don't make it. You're just not supposed to make it. Okay. But the second one you can make, and people do make, and they do use, and this one eats through everything it touches. So when it's exposed to any kind of air, it eats through everything it touches. So you need to keep it in a drum and keep that drum airtight and sealed. Now imagine that drum. Somebody just riding along, all right, that drum's in a warehouse and it's being stored properly, but somebody's got to pull it out because it's being used for something, or they need to take a little bit out, or they're siphoning a little bit out for a project or whatever it is, right? And somebody else is driving by on their forklift and isn't paying attention, is checking their cell phone or whatever, because cell phone, and accidentally pierces that drum, and air goes right up into that drum. Kaboom! Like that's the type of stuff where. It literally, that's the one that eats through everything. Yeah. But imagine the same type of substance, which I'm sure there's other chemicals out there. There's so many different chemicals and dangerous chemicals. But imagine that same type of substance where when air hits it, it explodes. And the more there is of it, the more devastating of an explosion there is. You know, that could have been what happened there. Or somebody was smoking a cigarette in Russia and Ukraine and stuff. From what I see on these Russian videos, they're insane. They're insane. I could see a dude walking around his chemical plant. Yeah, I could see some dude walking around his chemical plant with a lit cigarette, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. In Soviet Russia, cigarette smoke me, or I don't know. I don't know. Or plant working me.
I smoke to keep warm.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's really the saddest part, because it really could have been somebody outside at the plant, and let's just say they don't have the regulations that we have here in America. Like, we have regulations when it comes to EPA regulations when it comes to chemical plants, right? So when you go outside to smoke a cigarette at a chemical plant in America, one, there's a sectioned off place that's away from any kind of chemicals, right?
We're safe about it.
But two, every single doorway has a stopgap or a stopper that stops any liquid that spills in the building from getting outside of the building. Now imagine if that stopper's not there. And imagine just a certain kind of chemical warehouse where there's a sidewalk that leads outside. There's a door that comes right outside of the warehouse.
Not even that.
And
what
a sidewalk
cracks
leads
in the
outside.
Foundations?
They don't cracks in the foundation.
They don't
I'm talking
their
about
building as
somebody's
much as
just flicking a cigarette and thinking that normally they flick the cigarette into the dirt or into the grass, but this time they flicked it and didn't watch where it went and thought it went into the grass, but it actually landed on the sidewalk and rolled all the way down the sidewalk and literally right at the door, and there was just a little bit of chemical or a little bit of something flammable at that door that caught, and that led to back to where the chemicals were, and kaboom. Like, it could have been something so simple as that. You know what I'm saying? It really is possible. I know there's a lot of people, especially in the conspiracy world, be like, that's absolute malarkey. That
Not if
somebody
you've
dropped a
worked
cigarette in a chemical plant.
That is possible.
Exactly. It's completely possible, especially if there's lax regulations and things are a little bit different. Like, for all I know, in Ukraine or in Russia, it's like, it's cool to smoke in a chemical plant as long as you're not a few feet away from the chemicals. It's like, for all I know, that's the deal. You know, I'm pretty sure there's international standards. Like, there's some international standards that have to be followed, but I don't know. If somebody's smoking in a chemical plant, then maybe the international standards ain't doing too well. All right, so let's move on to something else. What else we got, dude?
Oh, well, I got
plenty, so you just let me know when you need me to come in with something.
Let's stick with Europe here. We talked about Ukraine. Let's move to Estonia. Yes, that is a real country, by the way. It's not some joke out of a movie. Estonia really does exist.
Yeah, no, I want to go to Estonia and get stoned, so I can say I've been stoned in Estonia.
Well, there's a new museum that just opened in a city called Tartu, Estonia.
Hold on. So I can get... all right, to finish what you're saying, you already told me about this, but the audience has not, sorry.
Yes, there's this museum that just opened in Tartu, Estonia. It's a Holocaust Remembrance Museum called My Poland of Remembering and Forgetting. Well,
it's a Holocaust Remembrance Museum? Wow,
you know, that's impressive, ain't it? You know, that's something you should definitely. We don't want to forget our history.
That's noteworthy, Brian. That's noteworthy.
They're getting a lot of backlash for their museum.
They're getting backlash for a Holocaust Memorial Museum? What is wrong with people? Who is backlashing? What are these, the Kardashians?
Pretty much everybody, because
what is wrong
the
with
way
these
they
people?
go about it borders on hate crime, really. Because this museum has a different approach to remembering history. They chose to laugh at it and mock it. The exhibits include a scandalous video of children playing tag in a gas chamber just before their death. They have one that's a mock setting of, like, Los Angeles, where the big Hollywood sign would be, but instead it says Holocaust.
Now,
like, it's pretty poor taste.
I got a couple things to say here. Do you mean to tell me that I can get stoned in Estonia and go to the Holocaust Comedy Museum?
Apparently.
Estonia sounds like the most awesome bucket list addition in the world. I think
there's some things you're not supposed to try to convert into comedy. Some things are just... I think that's one of those untouchable topics. You just don't laugh.
Yes, honestly, I agree with you almost completely. Almost completely, I agree with you because. But then again, like we make jokes about the Civil War, somewhat. Not like it's all the time. People are making jokes, and nobody really even cares about the Civil War like that anymore. But we make jokes about things like you've heard people make jokes about JFK. Like it's not frequently. But there have been jokes made about JFK, and it's not that person's demonized and this and that. You still can't make jokes about 9/11, really. You know, that's persona non grata, right? But here's my question, right? One, how long does it take before you can start making jokes about something?
I think that's something you should never joke about. Just
okay. Well, no. But you got to. But what you have to understand. But what you have to understand the nature of comedy. If you understand the nature of comedy, I'm not just saying stand-up comedy. I'm talking about comedy itself, like not certain forms of comedy, this and that, the whole genre.
Well, I have a twisted sense of humor, so I can shrug it off more than some other people. Like
the genre of comedy.
You ask any Jewish person, they'll probably tell you they would never laugh at that.
Well, the genre of comedy is you're never exactly. That's
and a lot of
part
Germans
of
are embarrassed
by it. It's an anti-Semitic thing. Exactly, it's an anti-Semitic thing to joke about the Holocaust whatsoever, and I kind of agree with that. But at some point, there's going to be people making jokes, whether it's 100 years from now,
But do you open a remembrance museum that's based solely on jokes where every single exhibit is a mockery of the Holocaust?
You know what I see there? Honestly, Brian, you're going to be like, fuck you. I see Estonia lightening the mood on such a dreary topic. I'll tell you what. They're lightening the mood on such a dreary topic. I'll tell you what. Any other time, every other memorial, every other, you know what? That's what they said. They said,
well,
hold up. We want to make a Holocaust memorial, and every other memorial out there, what can make ours special? Every other memorial out there is literally just wants to focus on the sadness of it, the death of it. You know what I'm saying? They want people to walk out crying. That's like the mission of all Holocaust places. And if that's not the mission, if people do it, then you know what? They did something right. They're looking at it as they did something right. So maybe these people in Estonia are saying to themselves, maybe we can do it a little bit different. maybe they're a little misguided. Maybe this was the wrong thing to choose to take a comedy route on. But it actually kind of reminds me of Stephen Colbert. But now Stephen Colbert's not even on the air anymore. So, but Stephen Colbert with his Ching Chong Ding Dong Center for Race Relations or something. He had a
vaguely remember.
Yeah, exactly. He had made fun of Asians, and it was pretty offensive what he said. But he was making fun of somebody else who said something just as offensive about another race, and it was almost it was in the heart of comedy. But people sometimes can't take comedy, so that maybe people can't take. But my first question was, what is it, 100, 200 years? How long until people start making jokes about it, right? What do you think? I think maybe 100 years from now, people will.
We haven't even hit 100 years. Well, maybe
100 years from now, not 100 years from it happening. 100 years from now.
Oh yeah, because by then you'll be like 3 generations removed.
Exactly, generations have to be removed from it. We don't give a shit what happened to people in the 1700s, other than our founding fathers, right?
True.
Exactly. So, all right, knowing that.
Well,
also,
real quick, Rael Artel, who curates the celebrated exhibition of modern art, that's in quotations and italics, at the Tartu Art Museum, appears to have a different mission entirely than the usual approach to the Holocaust as one of the most unspeakably dark chapters in human history. On the museum's website, he explains how the museum considers it its mission to help artists see painful history through a different prism in order to be able to talk about it more comfortably.
Exactly. We don't talk. We're scared to talk about it. We're scared to openly, like,
I just don't feel that laughing at that particular topic is a great approach.
I definitely understand, but also I think there needs to be a line drawn between, or there needs to be a clarification made between laughing and encouraging. Just because you're laughing about something does not always necessarily mean you're encouraging somebody to do that, or you're glorifying it. That's not always the case. You know, I don't think they did this for any kind of malintent or any kind of ill will.
No, they honestly, in their own opinions, they honestly did it to try and take a different approach other than a dark, dreary, depressing approach. They wanted to use humor and irony. I just personally don't feel that was a good subject to inject full of humor and irony. It may not have been,
but maybe as you've noticed, I've I've been acting a little more spiritual, I guess you could say. I've connected with my spiritual side a lot better. I've not reconnected with God. I've always been connected with God, but I feel like I've gotten back to I'm not letting my human brain and my human body like muddy up the waters of what I know is true and what I know is right. And what I know is true and what I know is right is that everybody goes to heaven, right? Hitler went to heaven. People hate hearing that, right? Because there's only one place to go, and we all always rejoin source. You may spend some time after your body leaves this planet trapped somewhere. You may have created yourself some sort of a spiritual trap, but you always end up going back to heaven. But there is no such thing, with my belief and all that, there is no such thing as right and wrong. Right and wrong are relative terms created in this universe, out of this universe of duality, because duality, you have to have good and you have to have bad, okay? So when you look at things like that there really are no rights and wrongs. Even murder is not right and wrong. That doesn't mean that you should ever encourage it or you should ever do it, you know what I'm saying? It's not that it's wrong in the context of this universe, you know, in the context of life, you know what I'm saying? Like that's inherently wrong. You feel that that's wrong. It's not like that's wrong because your mind has been told or you've been raised to know that that's wrong and that's what society says is wrong and this and that, you know what I'm saying? You know that taking the life of another, even if you're hunting and you kill something, unless you're completely disconnected from your soul, which some people have become, but unless you're completely disconnected from your soul, almost everybody apologizes to the animal if you're connected with your soul after you've killed that animal and you plan on eating that animal. If you're killing that animal for fun, you're probably not apologizing to it. But if you're killing that animal for sustenance and you're living out in the wild or you're trying to survive out in the wild, almost everybody apologizes to the animal. You know what I'm saying? It's like a gut thing that it's not, I was raised that when I hunt stuff and when I kill stuff, that if I'm going to eat it, I have to apologize. No, it's like there's certain intrinsical things inside of you that you know what's right, you know what's wrong, and murdering somebody is intrinsically wrong. And I'm sure when somebody does that, they know I shouldn't take the control of ending somebody's life or I don't say beginning somebody's life, but I shouldn't take the control of somebody's life and take control of when they expire, when I shouldn't be the one who says that they're not allowed to do all the things that they wanted to do, all the things that their soul came here to do, you know. But then again, sometimes, like also with what I believe is that sometimes two souls come together, or multiple souls, and many thousands or millions of souls can come together all for a grand purpose, you know. And I think the grand purpose of the Holocaust was to teach humanity. Like a group of souls came together, and they knew they were going. The end goal was, or not goal, but the end outcome was their physical human bodies would end up dead, and some of them tortured and gas chambered, and that some of them killed in war, and you know what I'm saying. But they all came together to show humanity the worst that we can be, just how evil that we can be. Because had they not done that in this world of duality, in this universe of duality, we may never have been able to realize how good we can be as well.
True.
You know, you need that duality.
Well, I just found this quote at the bottom that I didn't see when I first read this.
What you got for me, son?
This is actually kind of... I didn't see this when I read it the first time. Humor and irony, according to the coordinator of the exhibition, a woman named Julia Poloyanenkova.
Exactly. Look at things in a positive light instead of a negative light. That's the best way to look at that.
Humor and irony is a way to overcome trauma. The intention here isn't entirely to discuss the actual events, but to attempt to understand how the generations of us that remain deal with trauma, with events that have traumatized the human soul.
Yep. Now, a good idea, Brian. I say it's a good idea. I can guarantee you 98% of this country would completely and wholeheartedly disagree with me, is doing the same thing. Either one, my first thought was for soldiers coming back with PTSD, you know, making a museum dedicated to the soldiers that are coming back with PTSD, but putting it in a comedy light. But that, I think, could be dangerous because you're agitating men who are still around that recently had guns, and you're agitating them and almost provoking them to use those guns, come find you and want to use those guns, because PTSD is no joke, and they may take it super offensive. And like, you can kind of liken the two, because what if there was tons of Holocaust survivors still around? Would they have come out with that? I'm not so sure, because you might have some Holocaust survivors that want to come burn down your freaking museum. You know what I'm saying? Why do all that
There's
stuff?
a lot of them posting comments.
Oh, there are people who want to do it.
It's not art.
Sure.
It's a disgusting mental disease. This is utter moral degradation.
Okay.
It's a scandal,
You know what's a good
insults the victim's memories.
PTSD is a bad idea. PTSD is a bad idea. That is probably still even a bad idea. You know where that really could be directed as... And not fully comedy, but comedy in a way that helps people understand what's really going on and the true purpose of it, is war. War in general. And the wars that we're in nowadays, but all the wars going back. Like,
the wars we're in nowadays are
Start
laughable.
with what Smedley Butler gave us. War is not a racket, or war is a racket. Not a racket. Oh, my God.
War is a racket.
War is a racket. Start with that. And
if you haven't read
go
it,
forward.
please read it.
You
It's
can
only
make
like
jokes
8
about
pages.
things. You can make jokes about things and inject humor into things that are very serious or very depressing or very negative. And that's a good way to provoke people to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? To kind of stir up the pot a little bit. And people aren't like, well, I don't want to touch on that subject because you know what? I don't want to put people in a bad mood. I don't want to put people in a negative mood.
In your opinion, then,
my
South
educated
Park,
opinion or my uneducated opinion? Because I have
we'll
two.
say educated.
Okay.
You remember the
Well, if you're going
South Park
South Park.
Jersey Shore episode where they called...
They took over New Jersey, took over America.
Yeah, and they enlisted the help of
Denver,
Osama
New
bin
Jersey.
Laden and Al Qaeda to fly airlines into New Jersey.
The end is my favorite.
Well, what do you think? Do you think that was too soon with them take Al Qaeda flying
No, that's
airplanes
necessary,
into
and
the
that's
New
why I
Jersey
have that
people?
thought. Thank God for South Park, because if we didn't have South Park, then there would be a lot of people there would be a lot more people who say, you cannot do that, you cannot do that, and we'd have such sticks up our asses. And you know what? We don't have to have such sticks up our asses, you know? Like, we're moving into an enlightened age and an enlightened time where we're a little more knowledgeable, and we can know when something's a joke. You know what I'm saying? And when it's a joke about whatever you want to joke about, and we know that it's a joke. Now, when you start getting serious about it, and you're taking the wrong, or you're approaching it in the wrong way, or you're trying to tell people how they need to handle this or this or that, like how mainstream news kind of does, and you're lying to people and stuff like that, that's a whole nother story. But when you're just joking about, like, you're giving people the truth and you're just joking about it, when it's a very negative topic, I can see how it offends so many people, because a lot of people die from that. Like with the 9/11 episode, imagine somebody who lost their child in 9/11, or somebody who lost one of their parents is watching that episode
and sees them begging Osama bin Laden for help.
I would be pretty pissed off if I saw that. But that's where I hate to say it, and a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me. That's where we have to try and let the ego go, of saying, you know what, like that's fucked up. Like they don't understand how that hurt me, and it's like if we really start trying to understand the full nature of the universe and of spirituality and stuff like that, we may come to realize, just like I said with the Holocaust, all those people that died on 9/11 may have chosen to do that before they ever even arrived on this earth, before they were ever even born on this earth. Maybe they all, as a group, decided that they were going to do that. And they were going to do that to start the war on terror. And it's like, well, why would a group of souls get together to start the war on terror? Well, the war on terror has to happen in order for us to break free of the shackles. You know what I'm saying? Before we can really realize we have shackles on us, they have to be tightened. You know what I'm saying? Once they're tightened to a certain extent, we realize we have the shackles and we do something about it and start trying to get the shackles off. But when they're so loose, even though they're there, a lot of people know they're there, but when they're so loose and they're not affecting people in their everyday lives, they don't think I got to get these damn shackles off. They're like, I'm good. I can still walk around. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? It's like I can cover them up with my jeans and all that. But when the shackles start getting kind of tight, like when an officer puts handcuffs on you and they're on too tight, what do you keep hearing when you watch cops? Officer, they're too tight. Please loosen my cuffs. Please loosen my... You just want them off, you know what I'm saying? Or at least loosened up, you know? But I think for us to realize the shackles are there and realize we don't need the shackles, they need to be tightened. And that's not saying, like, I am for the war on terror. Not at all. Like, I don't want to see anybody dying. But for the overall grand picture of the human race, 200, 300 years from now, we might look back on the war on terror as a miserable failure, and so many people died, but without it, we wouldn't have, just like with the Holocaust, we wouldn't have been able to evolve past something like that ever happening again. You know? Okay. So, I don't know. That's what I think, Brian. That's what I'm thinking. You asked for my educated opinion. I could have given you my uneducated opinion and said, fuck that, South Park rules, fuck them people. You know what I'm saying? I could have said, screw you guys. I'm going home.
I'll admit, I thought it was funny, although the first time I saw that episode, there was that moment of shock, like, wait, they're really going there?
But I love that. Like, they go there with so many things. That's why what has shaped me into thinking that that's almost necessary is we need to approach things. We need to approach things and really talk about things. And sometimes people are very hesitant to talk about them when they're in such a negative light. So the only way sometimes to talk about those things, or at least start talking about those things, is to inject a little comedy into it. You know?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I don't know. What do you call it? Did you know that there was I believe, a couple month period back in 1969 where marijuana was legal?
I thought it was legal only a couple months?
Yeah. Now, in 1937, keep in mind hemp during World War I, hemp, and also I believe World War II, hemp was like almost, I think, required. It was definitely in one of the wars, maybe in both. Hemp was required required by the government to be grown on any farmer's land. Like any farmer who had a farm, you got to grow hemp on your land to help support the war effort, right? That was hemp, which is kind of the same thing as weed. It's just not active or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like the stalk or whatever. Okay, right? So, then they put together the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, right, where you had to basically get a stamp to be approved to have marijuana. But in order to get that stamp, you had to have marijuana. Like, it was some... I'm a little too high, believe it or not, I'm a little too high to be able to explain it all. But if anybody knows about it, the Marijuana Tax Act stamp thing came up in 1937 and made it basically illegal to have, you had to get a stamp and they weren't giving out stamps, basically. Get a stamp to legally have marijuana or grow marijuana, and they weren't giving out stamps. So when you went to them to ask them for a stamp, they said, oh, okay, you're growing weed, and busted you, and well, that's illegal. You don't have a stamp. So, blah, 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 you're in trouble. All right? So then in 1969, if anybody knows Dr. Timothy Leary, LSD experte. Okay, right? He went to the United States of America and went to the Supreme Court and basically said that that's unconstitutional to basically entrap people like that, and the Supreme Court agreed with him. So in 1969, the Supreme Court agreed with him and abolished the Marijuana Tax Stamp Act, right?
Okay.
That's 1969. I don't know. Let's see. Does it have a date? September 29th, 1967.
Holy shit, that's my birthday, September 29th.
So 1967 might not have been a couple months. I thought I could have swore it said 1969. It could be a couple years. Maybe it got settled in 1969. I don't know. It's a court document, so it's just way too long and mashed together to try and find it. But all right, so maybe for a couple years it was legal. But in 1970, it was put up on. I think it was Nixon. We had Nixon in 70, right?
I thought it was 69. No, wait. 50 years was 2014. So.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. Nixon took over after Kennedy, didn't he?
Nixon, no. What do you call Lyndon Baines Johnson, didn't he? LBJ.
Did he?
I don't
remember.
I don't know. Anyway, I think it was LBJ. Anyway, in 1970, basically, the U.S. government put it to a Schedule I drug, saying it's the worst possible drug. And basically, it was put there as a temporary solution until results of studies came back on whether or not it had medicinal uses and its dangers and all of that, right? Okay. And some of those studies came in. Some of them never came in. And it was never taken off Schedule I. So since 1970, it's been illegal. But according to this, September 29th, 1967 is when he took them. But I think it was settled in 1969. So I think it was only a couple months that it ended up being legal. Maybe it was a couple years. I don't know. I could look it up, but I don't really. I just thought that was interesting. Something I can't.
It is kind of interesting.
What do you call it? Basically, another thing I want to touch on is scientists are basically now have the ability to shoot messages directly to other star systems, and they're getting ready to.
We're in the Star Trek age?
We kind of are in the Star Trek age, even though we don't know who we're sending them to, but we're going to send them to other star systems. It's not that we're
so what happens when it's the friggin' Borg, and they get our message and say, let's assimilate them?
Exactly. Well, they want to send the contents of Wikipedia on there. And remember what I said, if you got something on Wikipedia, then you know what? You're kind of somewhat legit if you got something on Wikipedia. So they want to send the contents of Wikipedia, but you can also send messages. They're also setting up a thing where you can send your own direct message to a star system. I want to send a direct message to the Sirius star system and see if we can get any kind of response or get them to come pick me up or something, right? But it's pretty cool. And Stephen Hawking has said this may not be the best idea because they could be Columbus and we could be the Indians.
Yes.
And I think that's all I'm going to say about that.
Or we could be the Federation and they could be the Borg.
Yeah, exactly. Even though we're not even close to the Federation. At least the Federation had a fighting chance. The Borg, if the Borg came nowadays, it would basically be like the Federation. It would be like the Federation showing up to some planet that barely even has the ability to get out into space.
Yeah.
Like they can only rotate their own planet or what do you call it? They can only hover around their own planet, but can't go too much farther than that, and have little satellites, unmanned stuff here and there. But
and then here comes
Klingon
cruisers,
Klingon cruisers, and all this stuff like torpedoes, and it's like we ain't got nothing on that yet.
That's like the Death Star versus Alderaan right there.
Or it's like what's his name? Nero. If anybody's seen the Star Trek movie Nero, the first Star Trek, basically what Nero did, or was it the second one? No, that was the first one with Spock. Yeah, the first one had Spock in it, right? Yeah, because the second one was Khan, Wrath of Khan or whatever. It sucked.
Oh, they all had Spock in it, but
Nero. Of course it happened. It had to happen. I saw it happen. I watched it happen. You don't remember Nero? Nero basically put the little red matter and dropped it into the middle of Vulcan.
Oh, okay. The new first Star Trek.
Yes. Gotcha. What do you call it? And completely destroyed the planet of Vulcan.
Yes.
A race of aliens may be able to come here and do that to us with absolutely
do we really want to let them
no resistance from us. We can try and resist, but they will experience no resistance from us.
What are we going to do? Shoot them with Glock 9s from the surface of the Earth while they're bombing us from orbit?
Yeah, no, that's when it's time to literally go stick your head in between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye.
Hey, we have all those tactical nukes we've been stockpiling, since the Cold War that are quote-unquote decommissioned. Hey, we'll have a use for them.
All right, now I wanted to touch on time slips, not today, but I definitely wanted to touch on time slips on one of these episodes here. But there was something I came across the other day, and I wanted to touch on it with you there, Brian. All right, they also, scientists have announced, or not scientists, but it came out last week, I believe, evidence of the expanding universe may have been just dirt. So the universe may actually not be expanding. I talked to somebody at work about that. He's kind of smart, or he follows science, or when it comes to science and astronomy or astrology or whatever. He's not astronomy. He's somewhat smart. He knows his stuff. He paid attention in science class in high school, and he knows his stuff and follows up on the stuff every now and then. So he kind of knows his stuff. And the impression I got from him is that there's not just one piece of evidence that for an expanding universe, there's many pieces of evidence for an expanding universe. So one piece of evidence being discredited wouldn't discredit the whole expanding universe theory. But I don't know about that. I don't know enough about it myself, so I can't really say. One thing I wanted to touch on, though, Brian, real quick, okay?
Okay.
Real quick, Brian.
Real quick.
Have you ever heard of Last Thursdayism?
Last Thursdayism.
You haven't, have you?
I haven't, no.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about Last
Thursdayism.
Yeah. Which basically says that this is our first podcast. Which basically says that you didn't walk over here today and sit down at that desk and start doing the show with me. Last Thursdayism says that this show just started 30 seconds ago. That the universe just started 30 seconds ago, Brian.
Last Thursdayism says this.
Exactly. Or, as you would more likely say, the universe started last Thursday. Okay? So, if you're really following
if the universe started last Thursday, then I'm pretty sure I walked over here about an hour ago.
I know, if you're saying all that. But it's basically what proved to me that the universe didn't begin last Thursday. That's all I want.
Okay, I was born last Thursday. I was born 32 friggin' years ago. That's before last Thursday.
How? How are you? How can you be 100% sure of that? Because your memory tells you that you were born 32 years ago. Because you have 32 years of memories. How do you know that last Thursday, all of those memories and your brain included did not just pop into existence?
Because I have photos on my phone that are dated before last Thursday.
How do you know that phone didn't just pop into existence
I have
with
a
those
paper
photos
calendar
on them?
dated before last Thursday.
How do you know that paper calendar didn't just pop into it? I'm saying the universe itself. All that stuff is a part of the universe. Every single thing you're talking about right now is a part of the universe. So if the universe popped into existence last Thursday, all of that would have popped in. It's not like, oh, well, that defies the universe and you know what I'm saying? Or that would have existed no matter what, even if the universe didn't before then, because you got a paper calendar. That paper calendar is just literally atoms and molecules of this universe. You know? There's no way. That's basically why I love Last Thursdayism. And let me read you just a couple things on Last Thursday. Oh, that's probably something to look into. I'll look into it for maybe the next show. Is Omphalos hypothesis, which is probably close to what I was saying. But, I think I'll go to Rational Wiki.
The Church of Last Thursday.
The Church of Last Thursdayism is probably a church that I'm considering on joining. It's not an actual religion or church, but it's something people who kind of believe that.
The Church of Scientology?
It's not like the Church of Scientology. I'm going to read this whole thing because, you know what, up until 3 or 4 days ago, I had never heard of Last Thursdayism, but I've always thought about Last Thursdayism and never knew there was a name, never even knew there was really other people who are really thinking about it like that, like I am. All right, now hear me out, Brian. Are you ready?
Okay.
Last Thursdayism, sometimes called Last Tuesdayism or Last Wednesdayism, refers to the idea that the universe may have been created last Thursday, but with the physical appearance of being billions of years old. Under this notion, people's memories, history books, fossils, light already on the way from distant stars, and so forth would all have been formed at the time of creation, last Thursday, in a state that causes them to appear to be older. It forms both a philosophical point about how our observations may not match with reality and a reductio ad absurdum of some young earth creationist ideas. If the world was created 6,000 years ago with the appearance of being made billions of years ago, what stops us simply claiming it was made last Thursday in the same manner? The Last Thursday variety is a parody of the Omphalos hypothesis and a relative of Bertrand Russell's equally parodic 5 minutes ago hypothesis. How do you know what happened 5 minutes ago actually happened?
We have video of it.
What do you... Yeah, but see, you can't... There's nothing outside of this universe that you can use as a waypoint to say, oh, okay, no, because that's they're saying that, yeah, this was here. There's all of this is a part of the universe. So if the universe came into existence last Thursday, or the universe came into existence 5 minutes ago, it could have all just came into existence just like this. You know, with these memories, thinking that, and we can watch this video, but all of that was already came recorded as the universe popped into existence. All the video that we thought we just recorded 5 minutes ago actually just popped into existence, the recorded video, and we picked up recording on from there. You know what I'm saying? But it all just popped. It's almost like, think about this, right? A simulation video game like The Sims or SimCity or something like that, put on pause. Okay. Now, leave it on pause for 1,000 years. I'm not saying, let's just say you're theoretically able to do that. Leave it on pause for 1,000 years and turn it back on. Unpause the game. What happens to all those little people in there? Let's just say all those little people have some form of consciousness. All the little people in that game have some weird form of consciousness.
Well, they're not going to know that you just paused their society.
Exactly, because everything, their universe stopped. They don't recognize it stopping because they're part of the universe, therefore they stop. So for all they know, everything just kept on going. But all the stuff before that, I could have literally just created and programmed into the computer all of those circumstances, all of those variables. I could have programmed into the computer and gotten it all right to that point and then hit play. And everybody would have thought, and if I had enough control, if I had enough ability, or with that computer, I could build memories for each one of those little slices of consciousness, right, inside the game. I can build memories for them so they think before I hit play, there was a whole life that they were living. You know? Pretty crazy, Brian.
So you're talking about pre-programming their memories before even...
Yeah, before they even exist. Exactly. Pre-program their memory. So they actually start at 30 years old. A little consciousness character or whatever starts at 30 years old. And from that point forward, like literally, he just was created at 30 years old and is going forward. Even though he has a 30-year-old body that seems like it has aged appropriately over 30 years or whatever, it literally was created at 30 years old and goes on from that point. But he believes the 30 years prior are all real. All those memories are all injected. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Like I've seen some movies and some shows that kind of get into it. It's not that there's not much on it. That's what I love about it, because there's so much more to really dive into it. And it's kind of a flimsy subject. I can see why a lot of people are like, no, that's stupid. How immediately, because your immediate thought is to be like,
religious,
because I was here, or because I was born 20 years ago, 25 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well then you start to look at the religious connotations that would imply, and a lot of people would be in an uproar if this idea ever went mainstream.
Yeah, but if you're in an uproar, if this idea ever went mainstream, then how can you technically be in an uproar about that? Because whoever created this universe and put it here, also created those religions. You know? If he didn't want those religions here, then he wouldn't have created those religions, or whatever it was that created all this wouldn't have created those religions, just wouldn't have just popped them into existence like that. You know? Aha! So maybe then that's when the people say, well, these religions are meant to be here, you know? Or these religions are true. You know, if they weren't true, then they wouldn't have been programmed into the system. That just leaves the door open for them to confirm their own beliefs. Even as if this were to ever be proven. Or the problem with this is it can't be unproven. You know, that's like, you know, I love talking about proving conspiracies, and you got to have cold hard facts. This cannot be unproven. I cannot think of a way, and I don't know if the human brain is capable of thinking of a way to prove this wrong. You know? Okay. So, on that note, I'm going to read the next section of this called Proving Last Thursdayism.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Last Thursdayism and any similar idea can be seen as hyper-omphalisms, extreme forms of omphilist doctrine designed to show the absurdity of it. As such, they constitute a skeptical hypothesis of the very existence of past, not just events that occur within it. Bertrand Russell explains the problem with proving that the universe was created intact at a set point in the past in his 5-minute hypothesis. There is no logical impossibility in the hypothesis that the world sprang into being 5 minutes ago, exactly as it then was, with a population that remembered a wholly unreal past. There is no logically necessary connection between events at different times. Therefore, nothing that is happening now or will happen in the future can disprove the hypothesis that the world began 5 minutes ago. Okay? I'll just read the rest of it. It should take me about 30 seconds.
I have no argument for that.
It's crazy. There is no argument. If anybody out there's got an argument,
I'm trying to come up with something.
If anybody out there's got an argument, try and argue. Give it to me, because I don't want to hear no based in physical world try and say, like how you started with, well, I got my calendar, I was born, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't really defeat it. That's not good enough. I'm sorry. All right, ready? Last Thursdayism speaks to the character of a God who would perpetrate such deception of false memories and evidence. That is, such a God would be a liar. While a lying God is not an entirely inconceivable possibility, it is still something most people would not readily consider, since it contradicts an oft-presumed characteristic of the reasonably well-known Abrahamic God version, namely that this entity is perfectly good and hence not deceitful. Also, in my belief, what I was talking about, like my spiritual belief, is that God is the good and the bad. All the worst evils that you've ever seen in the world, like people try and say, oh, that's the devil, that's the work of the devil. That's actually God. I hate to say that, but God is the good and the bad, and sometimes the further evil you go, the more good that you can have. You know, as you expand, you start from a center point of having no good and no evil, and as good and evil start expanding away from each other and away from that center point, the farther you go with either one, it moves the other one.
That makes sense.
They say even.
I can
so
see that.
There has to be evil. There has to be darkness and negativity in the world. Even though I want to focus on positivity, there has to be all of that for us to have good in this dualistic reality. All right. So while relying God is not entirely blah, blah, blah. Okay. Following quote from the Fundies Say the Darndest Things explains why people find the last Thursdayism idea difficult to comprehend. Fundies Say the Darndest Things.
What are fundies?
I don't know. That seems like a pretty awesome book. All right, ready? Last Thursdayism is false because I clearly remember events from before last Thursday. It does not follow that God could have fixed our minds and experiences to make us think we only felt things before last Thursday. For example, I have a note with the date on it, Wednesday, July 15th, 2009. This would not be possible if the world was created on Thursday, July 16th, 2009. Which is bullshit. Like, exactly.
Which is similar to my argument.
It is similar to your argument, but that's still that holds no ground. That holds no ground saying that the date wouldn't have existed. What are you talking about? A whole, like with revisionist history, we talk about revisionist history. A whole history can be created up.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody can believe it just
and
as
I
if
keep
it
going back
happened,
to I keep going back to 1984. If you read or watch the movie version of 1984, that's what they did. They had the people so cut off where they weren't allowed to own books or write or have knowledge. It was to the point where their history was what Big Brother told them their history was. And they had an entire department of the government that was their job, rewrite history to deceive the public.
Which I believe we have that department.
Yeah, we do. It's called mainstream media.
Well, no, I believe we have that department that is either NSA, CIA, I don't believe FBI, could be a couple other, maybe even working with Council on Foreign Relations, the Rockefeller Foundation, probably definitely the Rockefeller Foundation,
you know,
and the Department of Education. It's all part of the plan, you know?
They're all like spider webbed into each other. It's like...
Okay, right. This is my last thing I'm really going to touch on the last Thursdayism because my brain starts to hurt after I think about it.
I'm trying to think of a way to prove it wrong.
Yeah, you
can't.
All right, a recent manifestation of last Thursdayism appeared on a Usenet group, Talk Origins, in 1991, yada, 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 and it gradually gained popularity. And on August 25th, 1996, the FAQ for the church, its catechism, was posted to Talk Origins by Michael Keane. It is similar to unicornism or Pastafarianism. Aren't they amazing? Unicornism, that's what I'm saying. It's like comedy needs to be injected into things sometimes. With religion, you got unicornism or Pastafarianism, okay? With politics and people running for president and stuff, every single time, every election year, who runs for president? Vermin Supreme, baby.
True.
Vermin Supreme. And it's a joke. And people are like, what's the point? Really? You have to bring
there's a guy in the
Ukraine.
There's a guy in the Ukraine whenever there's an election, he runs as Darth Vader, dressed as Darth Vader, and all his entire entourage is dressed as Imperial Stormtroopers, and he does it as a joke
I never
for
heard of that.
publicity.
So you have to do stuff, and it's a form of art. Comedy is a form of art. Now, I think a lot of people forget that, and other forms of art are allowed to get away with doing almost whatever they want or saying whatever they want or conveying whatever message they feel is important because it's art, and art is important, and our society values art to an extent, right? But people often forget that comedy is an art form itself, you know? All right.
True.
Okay, so look, it is similar to unicornism or Pastafarianism and claims that the universe was created last Thursday by Queen Maeve the house cat, who on next Thursday, Judgment Day, will admit those who were nice to cats Nice to cats to paradise, and damn the unkind, the uncaring, and creationists to the never-cleaned eternal litter box. Since then, the website for Last Thursdayism has become defunct.
Hey, I'm glad I've been so nice to cats all my life.
Well,
that's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna tell you what. Yes, I've been a major cat lover my entire life too. So, and I've been close with my cats, and I love my cats to death, and I get a special connection with. And do you really want to know what I think? Do you know what's funny about that right there? That quote right there. When I first started getting into conspiracies and everything, it has nothing really to do with conspiracies, but I remember saying it around then a lot. Is when I look into a cat's eyes, my belief of a cat, right? I look into a cat's eyes and I see, like, almost pure spirit. But my belief of a cat is literally the direct... Whereas we are direct, but we have amnesia to it. We have a strong amnesia that we can't really remember. It's hard to remember that we are God or that we have such a connection with God, like, to the point where we are God. We're a physical manifestation of God. Mm-hmm. Cats know that. Cats know that they are God while they're here.
You notice cats can sense things humans can't. They can see things humans can't.
9 lives? 9 lives?
It had to come from somewhere.
Hold on. But doesn't that almost seem like a sort of godly trait to be able to
yeah, I could see that.
To not die?
It wasn't
multiple
God's
times
immortal.
in a row?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure cats can die, though. I'm pretty sure.
You know, it's funny though. Oh yeah, cats can die. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I
could be wrong on that one.
A cat running across the street at the wrong time, and that tire hits him the right way. That cat he ain't got another life. I'm sorry. That tire will squeeze all 9 lives right out of him, and that's sad. Like I cannot stand people who hit cats or run over animals and stuff. It's like we've devalued animals.
When I was first learning how to drive. My mom put me through one of those driving courses to get the insurance discount. Uh-huh. And that's one thing they taught me. If a dog or a cat or something runs out in the street, don't try to avoid it. If you have to hit it, hit it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And I'm like, nah, well,
the only time that I found myself agreeing with that in life, and I don't agree with it now, because I'm like, you know what? Fuck the humans. The humans are the ones who are destroying our planet and destroying life for the rest of us. You know what? Let's take care of the animals. But for a long time, the only time I thought that was the only thing that you could do, or that was the way to handle it, was when there's people around. When you're driving down a road, you're driving down a sidewalk. I was getting ready to say you're driving down a sidewalk. You're driving down a sidewalk
on your 3-wheeler,
and there's nobody else on the sidewalk walking on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? And a cat jumps out. Well, you get out the way of that damn cat.
You know how hard it is to swerve a big wheel on the sidewalk?
I know, exactly. But if there's people on that damn sidewalk, don't swerve to miss the cat if you be swerving into those people. Exactly, that's the way I look at it, you know. But then again, you shouldn't be driving on the sidewalk anyway.
Well, if you're driving on the sidewalk, you're probably drunk and don't realize you're about to hit the cat anyway. So,
Brian, I have something for us.
Oh, do you?
You're gonna be like, oh no, he did not. Oh, Brian,
I am scared.
I went there. All right.
I am scared.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Oh, I can't find it. Hold on. I got to find it before I give you my joke.
Okay, then.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana?
Huh.
Oh, maybe I didn't get it. It's not loud enough. I thought it would be so much louder.
On a completely unrelated note, here's a random quote from James Madison. The means of defense against foreign danger historically have become the instruments of tyranny at home. It's true. Think about it.
Power on. You are now connected. Enjoy. I just wanted to see if it would go through. All right, so, okay. I didn't get your quote by James Madison.
Oh, it's just a random quote. The means of defense against foreign danger historically have become the instruments of tyranny at home.
All right, we touched on, what do you call it, last week, right?
What you call it? Yeah, I think we did.
Cool. No, we touched on
a couple what you call it.
The Russian apartment bombings, right? We touched on them.
Did we?
We informed some people about them.
We very, very briefly started to... Really,
but you know what?
I think we said we were going to touch on it this week. I think that was the extent of our touching on it.
You know what? We got enough problems in America, so we got enough problems with our own war on terror. I'm just playing. I care about Russia just as much as I care about America.
The war on terror we create?
Yeah. The war
We
on
create the
terror.
terrorists and then declare war on them. Gotta love it.
Terror.
Gotta keep that money coming in.
Terror.
Military-industrial complex.
You are now
You
connected.
are now paired.
Enjoy. Alright, now, Brian, I'm about to fuck your head up.
Oh,
with this
no.
one. If it doesn't do it, I'm going to be so mad. Ready? You ready, Brian? Let's get it all turned all the way up, turn it all the way up, turn it all the way up, turn it all the way up. It's still playing on the thing.
Haha.
It said
Failure.
I'm now connected.
Failure.
It doesn't
You
play.
fail.
It says Bluetooth. It says it's playing. Oh, you know what? Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm about to punch this phone in its little fat
Oh, he's
mouth.
gonna punch his Orwellian surveillance device.
What am I doing, Brian? Hey, why are you
And
playing
now
music during
apparently
the
we're
show?
listening to some easy listening. 3NN has gone easy listening.
Yeah, I don't know. Why am I even... Oh, what?
Well, speak your mind then.
Okay, I will. No one has the right to tell me what I can do with my own body, what I can
This is
eat, drink,
amazing.
or smoke. This is a free
I hate to interrupt this wonderful song, but
Dude,
an
it's a great
article
song.
that posted yesterday to wakeupworld.com, which is a site that I read a lot of their articles on there.
Okay.
And
WakeUpWorld.com. Never even heard of it. That just sounds like a good one.
it's wakeup-world.com.
Uh-huh. Sounds pretty
And
interesting.
it's on their main page right now, February 9th, 2015. I was just scrolling down the page while you were playing with the phone there.
Uh-huh.
And this article's called Shedding the Ego, Moving Towards the Soul.
Ooh, I like it.
What were we talking about
I like
like
it.
15 minutes ago
Can
on
you
this very
share
episode
that
of
one
this
with me there,
program?
Brian? Can you share that one with me?
Well, it's a pretty sizable... Oh, no, not really. Okay.
share. I mean, share that one with me on Facebook.
I can definitely do that. Would you like it right now, or would you like it later?
Whenever you'd like to do it. Whenever. We got to wrap up. That's the only reason. I'm just going to give us a couple amazing facts to blow people's minds. Just because I got these and I just need them itching to get them out. They're like crawling inside my skin. Okay, that one sucks. Doesn't shake and give me no. Yeah, okay. All right. Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada has the largest bar per capita than anywhere else in the world. You used to think that was Riverside, but I guess I'm wrong. Oh, here you go. The first couple to be shown on a sitcom sleeping in the same bed was Mary Kay and Johnny. Whoever the fuck they are. I bet you my
Mary Kay
grandmom or I
and
bet you
Johnny.
grandparents know Mary Kay and Johnny are. Alright, what do you call it? People already know about rats multiplying, how quickly they are. So let's just tell you that men are 6 times more likely to get struck by lightning than women.
How's that work?
Because we're electric.
I thought it was we have our rods, our lightning rods.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the rods. You know
have a
what?
rod.
You know what? They do say lightning comes from the ground up, and our rod definitely points that way most of the time, right? All right. I don't know, Brian. Do you have anything else that you would like to share for today's show? I'm like, my brain is hitting a brick wall at the moment.
You know, there is so much going on that I wouldn't even know. I think I hit all my major stuff in the very beginning, just to make sure that it got covered.
Uh huh. All right.
No, I'm pretty sure we're good. Just to say we are not at nuclear war right now.
No.
No, that's good to know that was not... Oh, well, you know what? Here we go. I'll just... Random article from wakeupworld.com under the tag government. It's
Okay.
from January 13th of this year. It just jumped off the page at me. It's
Go ahead.
called The French Connection, False Flags and the Charlie Hebdo Incident.
Oh, man. I don't know. Before you get started on that,
very short.
When I first
It's
heard
only
about
the first
that,
few
when I first saw
paragraphs
some
of the
things floating around about that, my immediate knee-jerk reaction was like, "Oh, come on, really? Like, give me a break." And then when you look even remotely into it or start looking into the details of what they're trying to say, is pretty obvious. It's like it's kind of like 9/11, where it's like, really? Like you tried to pull that off and like tried to get away with that, but I didn't look into it too deep. But one thing I'm finding very interesting, and I look for people like this, and I'm sure people can lose their mind or people can go off the deep end or whatever. but I trust certain people and certain smart people, but also people who have a track record of being honest and being a good person and working to make the world a better place. One person that I've seen reporting on that, not reporting on it, but sharing things on her Facebook about it recently is Cynthia McKinney.
Okay.
About the Charlie Hebdo possibly being a false flag terror attack. And Cynthia McKinney does not share conspiracy stuff like that ever. So to see her sharing that, and that she's, I don't know if she's convinced, but looking like she might be convinced that that's what's going on, or that that's a false flag.
Well, I haven't read
very
this article.
Well may be.
I haven't read any of this article. I'm just looking at it right now, and it's a very long article that basically that's what it says. This was a false flag. And it even lists in a big, there's like a meme on the side of the page, top 5 signs of a false flag terror attack. Number 1, horrific images are overused by the media to shock the public. Number 2, drills of a similar attack occur the same day in the same area. Number 3, eyewitness accounts do not match the official story. Number 4, conflicting evidence is not repeated by the media. And number 5, usually used as an excuse to curtail rights or start a war.
Yeah. It's almost, I don't want to say it's undeniable. I don't have enough info on it to even say it's undeniable, but there's something fishy going on there. And then, like how after 9/11, within a month after 9/11 or 2 months after 9/11, people knew something was fishy was going on, but nobody, I don't say nobody, very few people are willing to really step out right now and really wave the flag. It's too soon, and I hate that we do that, but it is too soon that. But when you say it's too soon, when we go by that excuse,
I think people knew that day that was a false flag.
Look, but I'm talking about it becoming a major discussion, where 9/11 actually became a major discussion until celebrities were told that they're not going to get no more gigs if they don't shut up, if they don't just leave it alone. Like, people were told that they need to start leaving the whole 9/11 conspiracy situation, or that there was some weird stuff that went on, leaving it completely alone.
All right, here you go. Let's just, I wasn't even going to get into false flags or 9/11 or anything today, but while we're here, this article, I just scrolled down it. Here's some things. Let's think back to 9/11. I'm going to give you 7 numerous patterns consistent with false flags have made themselves apparent in the Paris shooting and hostage incidents. Also apparent and predictable results following these events. And this is a list of the normal patterns that are consistent with false flag operations. Number 1, mass mainstream media build-up and rollout with ready-made placards to call global attention to the event. We saw that with 9/11. We kind of saw that with Charlie Hebdo. I keep saying Hebdo. Questionable videos and details of the event, as well as drills or security build-up prior. We definitely saw that with 9/11. Charlie, I don't know enough to say yes or no. I'll say it's questionable details, definitely, but I don't know about drills or security build-ups or anything. 3 is military training for the perpetrators, while the terror suspects with deep state connections and rap sheets run free. We see that with everything. False dialectic of left versus radicalism, polarizing public consumption of propaganda. Are we seeing that? Yeah, we're seeing that with Charlie. Actually, we're seeing that a lot with Charlie.
Yeah.
Investigators, key individuals in the event end up, quote, suicided.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how the whole thing that really struck me and kind of made me turn my head and start looking at it a little bit is how they arrested that one guy for, I don't know if he was Muslim or not. He was either black or Muslim. I don't know what he was, right? But the one guy who started putting out satirical things about Jewish people, and him being arrested, or how Jewish people were handling this or something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he basically came out with some sort of comedy piece. I think it might have even been a stand-up comedy, and he's talking about how there's anti-Muslim sentiment in France, but if anybody tries to be, and like everybody jumps on board with it and kind of agrees with it, like it's kind of like a social norm in France to be kind of anti-Muslim, right?
Okay.
And anytime anybody's anti-Semitic, the people are very super offended. So it's like a whole double standard. So this guy's been talking about that a little bit and got himself arrested for talking about it. And what happened? And this is that was only a few weeks after the Charlie Hebdo thing. And it's like, well, I thought like you guys are standing up for free speech. So somebody's talking about or being somewhat anti-Semitic. That's what it was. He was making jokes about Jewish people.
Okay, so kind of like the Estonian Museum.
What? No, not kind of like the Estonian Museum. Kind of like Charlie Hebdo making jokes about Muslim people because it's free speech and they're allowed. This guy's making jokes about Jewish people and it's free speech and they're allowed. And it's like, I think, I hate to tell the Jewish people what they need to do, but Jewish people need to really start understanding that there's a difference between Judaism and Zionism.
Yes, a big difference.
And that a lot of times the mindset of you can't say anything wrong about Jewish people comes from Zionists. It does not come from Jewish people. True. But a lot of Jewish people see that you're not allowed to do that, or that that's like strictly enforced by Zionists. They don't see the word Zionist enforcing it. They see the heads of our society enforcing it, and the heads of news and TV and their celebrities and stuff enforcing it. So they're like, that's wrong, but it comes from Zionist viewpoints.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you step back and look at it objectively, you should be able to joke about a Jewish person just as much as you joke about a black person or a Muslim person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, sorry, black's not a religion. I'm not trying to.
I was going to say, well, like I've never heard of the black religion before.
You should be able to make fun of you. You should be able to crack jokes on whoever you want. You know what I'm saying? It's and be.
My favorite people to crack jokes on. I like to crack
the Holocaust
jokes
thing. Maybe that's
generic white people.
Different.
People like us. I like to crack jokes on generic white people like me and you.
Basic bros. I'm not a generic white man, dude. I am not. Do you know what I always hated? When somebody says, "Hey, be extraordinary," I'm like, I don't want to be extraordinary. Break down extraordinary for me. Extra ordinary. I'm so good on being extraordinary. It's not even funny. Like my life purpose, and I know it's like it burns from my soul through my body and through my brain. My life purpose is to defy normal. Is to be anti-normal. I do not want to be...
It's like, what was the famous Kurt Cobain quote? You laugh at me because I'm different, I laugh at you because you're all the same.
Exactly, and that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly... But, like, part of me, like, I've realized this. I'd like to say, oh, well, I realized this, and then I thought this is how I should be, but I've been this way almost my entire life. But in the past, maybe 5-10 years, I've realized all of the people out there who are successful... And are doing what they want to do. I'm not saying successful, they're making a lot of money. I'm talking about doing what they want to do and loving it. You know what I'm saying?
Happy with their life.
Happy doing what they're like, getting paid to do what they love. You know what I'm saying? And they're happy all around because they're doing what they love. They're making a good paycheck from it. You know what I'm saying? It's like those are the people that didn't just say, I just want to be normal. I just want to be like everybody else. They were like, I'm different. I love being different. And nobody else is going to ever tell me that I have to be normal. You know? Air quotes.
Air quotes.
All right, I don't know. On that, I'd like to kind of wrap this some bitch up. Oh man, our video died. I don't know when it did, but it did.
Oh.
Those batteries lasted a while. Well, we only did an hour, so maybe we didn't. Well, hour and 15, 20 minutes. But maybe it didn't go that long, or maybe it didn't die for that long. Who knows? All right, so I guess on that, we'll.
That's a sign. Hey, what's that? We have no video, so the camera can't see it. But on the background, on the big computer screen,
that's not your explosion, Brian.
I was gonna say there's a picture of the Earth with a big glowing light over Europe. I was wondering if that's the NATO shot of the Donetsk nuclear explosion from last night.
No, that's actually. This is a shot of the UFO. If you want to look it up, there was a UFO that took off. That was.
That's a big son bitch.
That was hovering over one of the temples in Israel or Jerusalem, not Israel. Well, I guess they're the same. I don't know. Hovering over a sacred temple in Jerusalem, and shot up straight into the sky. This is actually the satellite shot of them catching it as it hit the atmosphere and was coming right up over the horizon. So it looks like it's like. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, Brian. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, so on that note, everybody have a great week.
By the way, I just want to throw this out there. Dianne Feinstein says the First Amendment is not a inherent right, it's a special privilege. So just to correct that, anyone who thinks you have a right to free speech or freedom of the press, no, it's a special privilege, according to Dianne Feinstein. So
yeah, Senator Dianne.
Because I'm sure that that's a very trustworthy source on constitutionality of the First Amendment.
Yeah, I don't even care about her or anything she says. All right then. On that note, everybody have a great week. I'd like you to come check us out on Facebook.com/3NN Podcast. You can email us at 3NN@outlook.com or Brian3NN, right, at hotmail.com?
At hotmail.com.
Sounds good to me.
Because that mail gets hot. We're hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. You can find us on YouTube. Just search for 3NN Podcast and have yourself a wonderful week. And we'll see you next week. We'll see you next week.
See you next time on 3NN.
Sounds great. And ladies and gentlemen, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Hey! What? Oh, no. Too much then, Brian. Too exciting, buddy.
Cop gets 30 months for bribery after coercing sexual
just a little bit longer. Please tell me that you're gonna. Now your daddy don't mind, and your mommy don't mind.